Welcome to the NEREJ NYREJ podcast. I'm your host, Rick Kaplan. And I have a guest that I've known quite a while. Correct, Jay?
Yeah, correct.
We've known each other a while.
Yep.
Jay Pateakos, and he is with the Taunton Office of Economic and Community Development. And Jay's got all kinds of things that are going on there right now, and it's everything positive. And Jay's going to tell us a little bit about his journey on how he got to where he is now.
How you doing, Rick? And thanks for having me. We appreciate it very much. I'd say the journey probably starts around 1999. I opened my own business. It was an English muffin company. I had 3 partners at the time. We took an old recipe. We purchased the old Sunbeam assembly line in New Bedford, and we built it into a shop. And we were open for about a year. We were in 400 different stores. I was doing a lot of the marketing and financial side of the business, and it taught me a lot about how hard it is to open and keep a business intact. And I think that was the seeds of where I am today. I fought the city of New Bedford for funding back in the day, and I got it. I think it was the 4th attempt, and by then it was a little too late. We folded after like a year. Just having so much overhead with equipment and the building that we had to put gas and electric in that had nothing. It was a lot for a small business, but it taught me a lot about, what people have to do to have a business. And that kind of set the seeds. I became a journalist after that. When I fought the New Bedford City Council way back when, I got a job with the Standard Times. I wrote about 300 different articles there. I got a full-time job in Fall River as a staff reporter focused on business. I think I got the SBA journalist, small business journalist of the year, 2004. And I was there at the Herald News for years. I think it was 4.5 years. And then I became a chamber executive. I started working at the Fall River Chamber, again, helping businesses. So you can kind of see, business journalist and then chamber executive. And I was in Fall River for about 4 years before I ran my own chamber in Sandwich. And I ran that for about 3.5 years, got a new visitor center online, that the other executives weren't able to do. So that was an awesome feat to, get a new building open where people can come and, check out what about the Cape, what about Sandwich, they want to do. And then after that, Mass Development had reached out. So Mass Development is a quasi-state finance organization, and they had helped to finance $100,000 of the visitor center in Sandwich. And I got to know the lender very well there, and they had reached out about a position, business development, that they had at Mass Development. So I got that job in 2017, and I was at Mass Development for a little over 5 years. I loved it there. I had 74 municipalities I took care of. So I had my hand in a little bit of every municipality, somewhat. Brockton, New Bedford, Fall River, Barnesville, all over the Cape. And Taunton came calling. I was not interested. I wasn't looking for a new job in any fashion, but I was friends with the assistant director of OECD there, Jim Howland, who's an incredible person and worker, and he's 20 plus years in Taunton, and he had reached out about the position of executive director being available in Taunton. And it was one of those quandaries, like we talked off camera, of just, I've got 74 municipalities with Mass Development, so it's kind of cool to be in Plymouth one day and Brockton the next and on the Cape another day. And I said, do I really want just one place to call home? Is it going to be just too little or whatever? But I think in hindsight, I never really had the biggest impact at Mass Development. I mean, I helped, I got grants, I got lending, funding for businesses, but I was never able to really sink my teeth into, a certain situation or certain municipality. So with Taunton, it was one of those municipalities that I didn't know that much about. I mean, I grew up in New Bedford. I worked in Fall River for like 15 years, and Shauna O'Connell is still the mayor at the time, and she had reached out to me when I was at Mass Development, always seeking input, always looking for help, always trying to find, how to get rid of blighted sites, how to conduct eminent domain, all this stuff. And for me, when I was deciding about the Taunton side of things, is I want to work for a person, a mayor that doesn't have all the answers, that seeks input. I feel sometimes mayors don't do that enough. They think they have all the answers and they don't. So I was like, it correlated with my decision with Taunton, where it's like I want to work for a person like Shauna who knows she doesn't have all the answers and seeks the input. And it helped in culminating me taking the job almost 3 years ago. It'll be 3 years in June, and it's been an awesome ride since. It was tough coming in. The Galleria Mall was getting demolished right before I started. So that was, I think, the city of Taunton needed like this positive force, because when you have like this mecca mall and then it gets demolished and then suddenly it's like this negative, and New Bedford and Fall River went through this too, where they used to have all the mills and all this stuff, and then nothing was happening, and it was like this almost depression coming in. And I think with Taunton, it was just a chance for me to come in and try to highlight the positive stuff that's going on in Taunton, and that's what I've been doing.
Well, that sounds very interesting, Jay. And I never knew about the English muffin thing. But you know what? That sounds very interesting too. And I wonder if I ever even had one of your English muffins.
Yeah, the recipe is still out there. I think it's called a Euro muffin now. So you'll see them, I think, at Market Basket. Two of the brothers it's not an English muffin size now. It's more like a bolo size, so it's a little bit bigger. But they took the recipe. It was their father's recipe, and they do it on a bigger version, and they didn't have the overhead
Was it
that
like
we
a
had.
Portuguese
Yeah,
muffin?
it's like
English
a
muffin?
Portuguese muffin, except it's got a bunch of ingredients that normal bolos don't have. So it's got a real sweet. I still buy them. I mean, even though it was a company that kind of went in the wrong direction for me, but my kids loved it. I still buy it for hamburg rolls. They're still out there. They're in all the Market Baskets and a lot of the other other
Very
supermarkets.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but it taught me a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's one of the things, life lessons, you go through those and you usually come out eventually better on the other side, you know?
Yeah, definitely, and I'm an example of that. It was tough at first. You learn your lessons. Financially, it's a hit, but you learn from it and you move on and you try to get better, and that's where I'm at.
All right. So now we're trying to do something with the city of Taunton and you're the head of the economic and the community development, which I don't know a lot about Taunton, but I do know that it didn't really it wasn't going in the right direction for many years. There was a lot of bad press with it.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, especially like when I talked about the mall, it was just one of those things, and I'm still having a hard time like attracting like say different fast food joints, like a Dave's Hot Chicken or like a Raising Cane's or whatever. I think a lot of places still look at Taunton as okay, they lost their mall. What chance do we have of coming into the city? So that's part of the reason why it's hard at times to try to attract different businesses, because we're still in the after effect of the mall closing.
Although I'm, in the real estate business, and a lot of the malls they're tearing them down.
They are. There's
Then
only
they're
a few
putting,
left.
yeah,
There's
and
only
they're
a few
putting
left.
in the strip plazas or putting in standalone, uh, retailers, big
Yep.
box stores. So as far as that being said, the mall is not really so much of an attraction a lot of times now. It's the kind of traffic that comes into that. Now, are they putting shopping or multifamily where that mall was?
No, the mall is actually the plan right now is so there was a company called Portman Group out of Georgia. They had purchased the mall property. So their plan is for 4 different industrial buildings that are going on the site, not retail. So it's industrial, light manufacturing, research and development. So one of the one of the new announcements that we've had is we have the first tenant. It's going to be a water distribution company. It's going into the first building, which is 248,000 square feet. So it's going to take the whole building. It's going to be 50 plus full-time employees, a lot of trucks. So it's good for our assessors as far as, you know, taxes. And I think the biggest thing, Rick, is that it's breaking the seal, because that building has been built for about a year now. And we've had a lot of different activity on the site, a lot of manufacturers, a lot of companies from across the country that are interested. But you need that first tenant to kind of get things going. This is like the new Silver City Industrial Park, you know, and now that the seal is broken and the first tenant is going to be coming in probably within the next 6 months, they're going to be building, and the next building is going to be 450,000 square feet, and that'll be at the site of the old mall. So that's something where now that we have the first tenant of the first building, we'll have the activity and we'll have the action to get other businesses in there. And you've been, I'm sure you've been to the Taunton Mall. It's right off the highway. I mean, it's a great spot for an industrial property. It's less than a quarter mile from the commuter rail station, you know, so it's definitely, and now the new interchange, which will be done in a couple of years, that'll just add to the quickness of getting on and off at that site.
Well, that will also eventually bring retailers, you know, smaller strip plazas and things like that to that general area, because they have many employees that are going to be coming into that area. They're going to want places, fast food especially, places to eat, places to, you know, like pharmaceutical places, you know, pharmacies. Those things will probably want to go into that area. I
Yeah, that
would assume.
Yeah, that's already started. I mean, the Starbucks went into the old TGIF Fridays right near where the mall used to be, and that's the busiest Starbucks in southeastern Massachusetts right now. So we've got a lot of different things. We have a breakfast place that just opened up down the street in a new strip plaza. South Coast Health just put an urgent care right on the road down the street. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in this area. We got the retail component at like the Target and the Kohl's area, but we've got this like 15-acre parcel of land there that I'm trying to get something going there. We need a movie theater back. That's like the biggest thing, is we had a movie theater at the mall and everybody loved it, and they had just remodeled into those lazy boy chairs. So that's one of the biggest requests that we get, is to bring a movie theater back, especially with, you know, we talked to Apple Cinemas, we talked to Regal, and they all want to come back. I mean, they want a developer to build it.
Right.
So, and that's the hardest part, is somebody coming in and, you know, developing a theater like that. So we're still working on that. But yeah, there's a lot down that strip. I mean, we've got the casino. We've got 150 slot machines that are going at the casino right now. Eventually, they'll have a design for a full-fledged casino that'll probably be a little bit bigger than Plain Ridge. So that area of Taunton is definitely on the up as far as development. We've got 275 units that are going in next to the commuter rail station. So there's definitely a lot of development already happening in that area.
So what other kind of what other areas of Taunton? I know you said well, I know there is a redevelopment of one of the apartment complexes that you have down that area, which was converted mills.
Yep.
Uh, so what's going on with that? Is that going to be growing even more, or is that just
Yeah. So
being?
that's the old Whittington Mills. So that was 42 acres of industrial land that the mill buildings have fallen into disrepair. We had probably a dozen developers that had come in hopes of renovating the mills into apartments. They're just too far gone. I know, like the city of New Bedford and Fall River did a lot of really good renovations of mill buildings that had been taken care of. This was not an example of a mill complex that was being taken care of. Most of the roofs had huge holes in it, and it just wasn't financially feasible. So we did have Greystar, which is a developer from the Boston area. They came in and are in the process right now of demolishing the mill buildings. They're creating 390 apartment units. It's the biggest apartment complex the city has ever seen. And it'll be market rate units, mostly one bedroom, some 2 and 3. There'll be 10,000 square feet of commercial, which will be a small bakery and a restaurant that'll go in at the site. but it's literally taking, 42 acres of blighted site and giving it, an injection of taxes. I mean, it'll be like more than $1 million of taxes we'll be collecting each year now from the development. And right now they're assessing the snow that had come, but they plan to start demolition this week. So that's something the city is excited about. That was something where they initially met with us and they wanted 700 plus units. And Mayor Sean O'Connell was like, no. And we want green space, please. So they came back with the 390 units and a lot of green space and stuff like that. So that's part of the housing focus that we have in Taunton. Taunton is a little behind when it comes to housing. I know there was a recent Mass Inc. article about where our rents went up more than any gateway city. And part of it was the housing stock isn't where it needs to be. But within the next 2 years, we'll have probably close to 1,000 units coming online, and the rents should stabilize by then.
So are you looking for multifamily developers at this point?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Whittington Mills is the biggest we've ever seen. We don't have the land capacity for anything that big, which is kind of good. I mean, we have a bunch of different, we have like the Pool Silver Mill building. That was another like Reed and Barton that produced the silver, utensils and stuff like that. That's something that's on our radar. We have a lot of different smaller properties. We have an old Columbus Electric on Oak Street that had a devastating fire years ago. And we just built a beautiful new Duval Park, 6 pickleball courts, bocce, walking paths, all this stuff. And we did the groundbreaking, and right across the street is like this just rundown mill. So we've been working on that for the last year, and we're just about to announce it'll be 50 to 75 senior affordable units there. Think about it like as a over 55, right, Rick? So you go, you get this apartment right across the street from pickleball courts. You walk across the street, you got exercise equipment, you got 2 dog parks. I mean, you can't beat it. It's going to be a home run for the city.
That's what we need. We need more housing for seniors,
Yeah, and we get a lot of grief about the impact on the schools. I know the superintendent, especially with the announcement of the Whittington Mills development, he was very leery about the increase in kids, and I totally get that. And that's why our focus is on senior housing, 1-bedroom units. We got another one in the downtown area that's doing 36 1-bedroom units. We've been pushing the senior veteran side of housing. That's the mayor's focus, and also 1-bedroom units. That way it's not having like this detrimental impact on the schools.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. It definitely does because you build 700 apartments, and it's going to bring in families and additional kids and more needs for schooling and things of that nature. Right now, I think a lot of cities and towns they closing down certain schools and just rebuilding one building to accommodate the kids,
And the budgets are still going up.
Well, yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. It's government.
Right.
It costs a lot of money to run a government,
but yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
So now I know they had some infrastructure that they were redoing in Taunton as well for a while.
Yeah, we have OECD has the grant manager. Her name is Heather Rios, and she does an incredible job. And we secured a $3.69 million grant from MassWorks for the infrastructure for the Whittington Mills. So that's going to be a huge plus for the developer, and it's going to redevelop the sidewalks in that area that have been blighted for many years, as well as, I mean, we're talking, think about how old the pipes are that go into these mills, more than 100 years old. So this is something where, we're helping to fix that and get brand new pipes, bigger pipes, and stuff like that. And it's something that we've tried to do across the city. Just there's a huge focus on sidewalks. There's a huge focus on new paved roads. So it's like, there's a lot of construction going on, and people like, there's always these detours.
Right.
But in the end, you're going to get a lot of great new roads. And that's the O'Connell administration has been pushing to to get some new roads going and
Well,
that
you
sort
know, a
of
lot
thing.
of people don't understand. We live here in New England. All our cities and towns are not new. They've been
Right.
around hundreds and hundreds of years. You
Yep.
know, a lot of the infrastructure was put in place back then, and some of it was put in kind of as almost temporary. You
Yep.
know, they put it in because of the need, but it wasn't put in the proper way, you know.
And it's amazing how long it's lasted if you think about it. Like it's
Exactly.
just amazing there hasn't been more problems way back when.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see some of that collapse around us in New England because of you know, the weather, our roads are starting to fall apart, you know. There's a lot of needs for our improve in, to improve our infrastructure,
Look at
not
the
just in
bridge in Rhode
Taunton.
Island. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like
yeah,
crazy.
just everywhere, you know. But you know, like everything, as it gets older, it needs attention, you
For
know.
sure.
Just like me and you know, we get older, we need attention.
Oh, that's for sure. More than ever.
Yeah. So, you know, you have that industrial park where the mall was. You have this big mill that is going to be redeveloped. Uh, and you have a couple other projects going on there
Yep. Yep.
and infrastructure. So it sounds like you have a lot of the needs are being addressed.
It's getting there. I mean, that's the thing when you know we just had a Globe article where they reached out about Taunton's increase in rents, and it's like when I was explaining to the city council about especially the commuter rail housing. So that's about 30% complete. So that'll be rented as of January 2027. But if you look at all the other municipalities, Fall River, New Bedford, they have their housing already. They have their commuter rail housing. It's already rented. There's already a waiting list. So it's like this is the kind of thing where it's like, look, we're behind in these housing projects. We need to get going. Housing needs to be an important part of the focus. And the O'Connell administration has been pushing, especially on the affordable side. We want more affordable rentals as well. So we're like pushing every developer for like a 25 to 30% affordable component for every development we have now. So it's definitely something where, we're trying to make Taunton a destination. Like in the Ware is another area where there was a lot of mill buildings that were run down. Bacon Felt was a felt manufacturer that was on West Water Street. We secured some grants to demolish the first floor structure. Now that's going to be 20 shipping containers. So we've talked about housing the first part of this podcast, but we also have destination stuff. This is going to be 20 different retail businesses. They're going to be on this site right across from the water. It's the only waterfront in the Taunton area. And it's something where it's going to be kayak rentals, a coffee shop, a pizza place, all different kinds of stuff that people can go. There's not much New England. There's not many shipping container stuff. I think there's one in Rentham. I think there's one in Providence, but there's not much. This is going to be the first big shipping container, and they've been in Florida for decades, or Las Vegas.
Right.
This is something that Massachusetts has been slow to bring along, but this is going to be something that's going to bring people to this part. I mean, Ware is a very historic part of Taunton. It's got the River House. It's probably one of the best restaurants in Taunton. So a lot of people know the River House, which is right down the street from this. So we've got some plans there. It's an old factory that we helped demolish, and probably within the next couple of months, once the whole planning process, there'll be 20 shipping containers that'll be dropped on the site.
So you're talking about an area of Taunton that is going to be like an entertainment, um, a family entertainment type of area, like a park.
Not like a park, but more there'll be like a pavilion where there'll be concerts and stuff. We just redid the Walker Park, which is right next to the River House restaurant, right down the street from where the Bacon Felt used to be. So it's a beautiful new gazebo right on the water, great walking area, for you to take your dog for a walk. And, there'll be entertainment there too. And right down the street at the Bacon Felt site, there's going to be a distillery. There's going to be an area for concerts, and it's right across from the water. So it's like this picturesque kind of thing. And our focus is on other spots down this road. It's almost like this part of Taunton is the land that time forgot. There's a lot of brownfields, contaminated lands. We're going through another one right now with DEP is helping us with, and it's at 600 West Water Street, and it's an old Yankee chemical site. And this is something where there's some contamination and we're going to clean it up. But if you look at it, it's right on the water, Rick. It's like, but it's overgrown. You can't really see the water because of, hills or whatever. But it's something that once we get cleaned up, it's going to be like waterfront property and it's going to be beautiful. And we'll try to figure out what else to do there, whether it's housing, whether it's more, destination retail. But it's just an area of the city that kind of hasn't seen that much activity in years. It's starting to see a jolt of activity going on.
Well, we've seen that happen quite a bit throughout New England. I don't know if you're familiar with, you probably are, Sal Lepoli's project that he did in Lawrence.
Yep.
Where he took all those old mill buildings and they're right along the Merrimack River there. And now they're beautiful businesses and restaurants and housing, So it does change that whole area.
Yeah,
It makes
absolutely.
it a much more desirable place to go. And that's what attracts people. It attracts people to live there, attracts people to bring businesses there.
Yep.
Which is your game plan.
No, absolutely. And the other area of the city that we're trying to focus on. So Winthrop Street is part of Route 44 on the other side. Now that's something where it used to be the old Shaw's Plaza. It used to be like this big retail, and now U-Haul has taken it over. Not the biggest fan of storage facilities, but we won't get into that on the air. But it's just one of those things where it takes up a lot of space and there's really no economic gain. But the problem is that like the Ocean State job lot closed last year in that area. So we're getting a lot of heat about, what can you do in this area of the city to kind of create retail, to kind of create restaurants, stuff like that. We've got a new restaurant going in at the former Frank's Good Time Lounge. It's like a kind of like an old bar that a lot of the people in the city know, and that's going to become a family restaurant. There's going to be 6 apartments above it. So that's something that's going to be attracting people to this area. But it's like one of those areas of the city, especially being on Route 44, that we're trying to figure out what space. And it's different than just creating a retail plaza. The problem is there's not like the U-Haul Plaza. They plan to do storage with the whole thing. So it's like we have to figure out what land is available and what we can do there. So that's one of the difficulties of our job, is just trying to create opportunities, retail. We have Ace Hardware looking at that area. It's just one of those things that we've been working at to try to improve that area of the city.
Now, in the downtown area where the Rotary is in Taunton,
Yep.
now that's kind of reminds me of the New England downtown areas, which some cities and towns, mostly towns, are taking those downtown areas, and they're taking those, because it was basically all stores, these little mom and pop stores, and they're taking those spots, those properties, tearing them down, putting in uh, parking as well as retail with multifamily above it. So they're going up,
Yep.
which it's kind of it's a positive thing, because now what happens is you have the mom and pop stores that are actually being supported by the tenants that are in the in above them.
Right.
So it works that way. And
Yeah, and we've had a lot of that in Taunton. So the mayor's focus was especially on the downtown area when I was hired, and getting the downtown to be a destination. So it's one of the things we already had. Like Talisa's Wine Bar is a very popular location for people. So that had just opened when I started, but we got a performing arts theater to come in. So we've got like legitimate, for the first time in like 25 years, we've got legitimate productions going on in the downtown area. They're doing Sister Act as their next play. So it's like, we know these plays and they're awesome. They did A
right.
Christmas Story for Christmas. and that's something that's going to be a catalyst. We've got a bunch of new restaurants. We've got Seven Spices, which is a Mediterranean restaurant. We got Natia's Soul Kitchen, which is a Southern cooking, not healthy, but the most incredible food ever.
Well,
Union
that's
Straw.
what that kind of restaurant brings the people.
Yeah,
Not
they do.
healthy.
And they do. And you're right about, we had Union Block, which was an example of what you had said, where they decided to do apartments above the retail atmosphere. So they've got 36 apartments there that opened up at the beginning of the year. So it's helped to, we've got a bookstore. I mean, I don't know how many downtowns but there's not many bookshops in any downtown area. So we have a book stop. We have all different kinds of, food places and restaurants. So the downtown, especially being so close to the historic Taunton Green, it kind of adds the element that there's so many different destinations and possibilities of going to a wine bar, going to a bookshop, going to a restaurant, going to a performing arts theater. All this that's within this very small area in the Taunton Green in
Well,
downtown
and
Taunton.
you have young people that are mainly renting nowadays, that can't afford to buy, where they're looking for places where it's a live, work, and play type of atmosphere,
Yep.
where they can live there and then just walk to local bars or local restaurants, local shopping. It's people always talk about, the big shopping malls. You have to have an anchor supermarket.
Yep.
A lot of young people now are looking for these boutique kind of supermarkets,
Yep. For sure. For sure.
and I don't understand that, but
No, but
they like that kind of thing.
it's true, and that's why places like Talisa's Wine Bar is so popular. You go in, you get a drink, get a flatbread pizza or a salad, and it's quick and on the go. And then they go into play, or they go into another restaurant for drinks. It's something that people are looking for, and that's one of the focuses of the downtown area. We've got two beautiful coffee shops, so it's kind of like this destination spot for the downtown, where you've got the workers from City Hall that are going to these coffee shops or these restaurants. You've got the people in the apartments above that are patronizing these places. So it's just an awesome scenario for the business owners to just have this undivided attention.
Right. And it's kind of strange because you go back 60 years ago, and those downtown areas used to flourish, where
Absolutely.
you would have the local baker, where people would go into the local bakery. You'd have the butcher, the local butcher, where people would go there. Those type of businesses are coming back. People
Yep.
want to go to the butcher. They want to go to the
Right.
baker now, the vegetable stand, it's just it's amazing how things turn.
Yeah, and we've been
And
trying to get a bakery. That's been the hard one. To get a bakery in the downtown area, and also a pharmacy. That's another thing, where there's small independent pharmacies. Now that the Walgreens are kind of dying out,
yeah,
you've got these independent pharmacies that want, that people want to go to, like you're saying, and so we're trying to find space for them too.
yeah, even banks at one point they were starting to shut down branches because they thought people didn't want to go into the banks anymore. They can do everything online or go to an ATM. But
Right.
now you'll find that a lot of banks are starting to open their own smaller branches or again.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. We just had a St. Anne's open up in an old Bank of America, and it's like one of those things where you hate seeing these banks close, especially in a downtown area. But St. Anne's Credit Union, it was the first one they've ever done in Taunton. So it's awesome to see that they're taking a chance on Taunton as well.
well, you look at Rockland Trust. Rockland Trust was a smaller banking institution, and now they're everywhere.
Yeah,
They're
absolutely.
growing like crazy,
Big
So,
time.
and same thing with South Shore Bank. They're
Yep,
doing the same.
absolutely.
It's it's just like I said, it's amazing how things uh, from like 60 years ago, it's all starting to come back again.
Absolutely. And it's
People
great. It's a
want
wonderful
it,
thing.
yeah, and people want that personal touch, I think.
Yep.
They're losing that. The
Yep.
internet kind of killed that. And
Yep.
these big box stores, they got so big that they kind of lost that as well. And now I think a lot of like supermarkets, they're being purchased by these uh, what do they call them? They're like investors.
Yep.
They're not really supermarket people. They're investors. They're buying up these supermarkets, and they look at them not as uh, with that personal touch. Their only concern is the bottom dollar, you know?
Yeah,
I
for
need,
sure.
it doesn't have, Market Basket is the only one that had that kind of feel when RDT was there, but, hopefully that will still go on with them, not at the helm, but we'll see.
Right.
But,
Hopefully.
I was just reading a thing about one of the big supermarkets that uh, they're getting uh, a lot of heat from the people that they employ because they're changing the model of how they operate to be more of we don't care about our employees, we don't care about the customer, we just care about how much money we're going to make on all this, that
Yeah,
we're selling.
it's
So.
disappointing. And that's why they go out of business.
Right, and then they end up starting to have to close hundreds of stores and things like that. Yeah, personal touches, I think, starting to come back.
Absolutely. And that's a wonderful thing.
It is, especially when you're having a small city or a small town. You know, that way people say, well, you know what? I get better service if I stay local. Why am I going to go all the way down the street to,
Absolutely. And that's
So
our intention with bringing all these places in is that you don't have to go to Providence. You don't have to go to Boston. You can go to downtown Taunton and get what you need.
yeah. And you talk about a bakery. I've never been there, but I've always heard there is a great bakery in Taunton Center. And so
Yeah, there used to be Arts Bakery. Arts Bakery used to be in the downtown area.
is that right? Because
There's
I
there's
think
one it's a little off the center, but it's a wonderful bakery. It's sad that it's I'm drawing a blank, but we go there usually once a month and it's got just upscale great muffins,
it was supposed to. I
cakes.
think it was Ruth. It started with a woman's name, Ruth, maybe,
No,
or
not
something
one
like
that I
that.
can think of. I'll remember it before the end of the podcast, but I'm drawing a blank right now.
Yeah, because they had these. There was I lived in Stoughton for 30 years,
Okay, yeah.
and there was a bakery, and they used to make these cinnamon rolls. They called them frozen dough, but they were so good, and they closed. I couldn't find it anywhere else, and I looked it up online, and it showed there was a bakery in Taunton
It, it's
that
got to be Fratelli's. Fratelli's is probably I mean, they're known for there, but it doesn't have a female name in front of it. Fratelli's Bakery is the one with the ginormous cinnamon rolls
is
and
that right?
muffins and just brownies and cookies and stuff. That's like the go-to place for
Well,
bakery
I
stuff.
wonder if is it the Fratelli's that is in Quincy
I
and
believe it is. Yeah.
oh, it is. This stuff is very good also.
Yeah. No, it's
But,
awesome stuff.
but
Deadly, deadly
yeah,
when
I
you
know.
buy it.
I know. I could live in a place like that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting that a lot of the things that people always enjoyed are coming back, and they're coming back in Taunton, you
Yep.
know.
No, they are.
So we like to hear that kind of thing.
No, thank you.
And we always love seeing you at our events, Jay.
Yep. Well, we plan. We'll be there.
Yeah.
I missed
So,
it when because we've been busy in Taunton, but I know when I was at Mass Development, I'd go to your south of Boston all the time. So we can't wait to keep going back for sure.
well, you were at the South of Austin and at the Metro South one.
Yep.
We got a big one coming up in South of Boston this year.
Yeah, we'll be there.
So we'll look forward to seeing you there. That's going to be in
Absolutely.
Quincy on May 12th.
Okay.
But maybe we'll have one for Metro South close to Taunton,
That'd be
or
great.
maybe even in Taunton.
We love it. We always have the space. So
Yeah,
whenever you need
okay.
it, let me know.
Yeah. We'll have to talk about that. So
Absolutely.
what's our future plans for Taunton besides what we just talked about? Is there any kind of a big news that's going to be coming up in the next few months about uh, some addition that's coming into Taunton, or like a school, or like a college or any of that thing happening down that way?
Yeah, I mean we have a lot. I mean, obviously we'll be breaking the news on the name of the first tenant for the Silver City Industrial Park that's at the old Galleria site. We've got a lot of stuff going on in our industrial parks too. I know I haven't had a chance to talk about that, but we've got some of the best industrial parks in the state. We do have, I know you've got a lot of developers and a lot of manufacturers that listen to this podcast. We've got space in the industrial parks, reasonable space. We'll be doing some major announcements on some tenants on the last site that's being developed. That'll be coming up soon, and that's some big stuff that I can't announce yet. But that's the last acreage of land at the Miles Standish Industrial Park that's going to be, we'll be announcing probably within the next couple months, and that'll be awesome. But we do have some availability in the industrial park, so I'd love, for people, and I know you guys have tremendous connections out there as far as, most of it's lease, and I know some of these companies are looking to buy. I know how that goes, but we've got a bunch of lease opportunities in the industrial park. We'll have some housing announcements. I know we've got one that's probably a few days away. It's an old restaurant. I was talking to you about the Ware area. It's formerly called McGrath's, and this is right across from the water, near the River House restaurant. We're going to be breaking that. That'll be a really great restaurant that'll be coming in there. That's probably like less than a week away from announcing. So we've got more apartments that are coming. That'll be another thing that we'll probably be announcing in the weeks or months ahead. So there's definitely a lot of stuff going. I mean, I really want to announce a theater eventually. We're not close yet, but this is something that I get the most requests, is to bring back a movie theater. And I know, like, my assistant is always like, no one goes to movies anymore. And it's like, that's not true. I go to the movies every week with my kid. And if I've got two different movie companies that want to locate in Taunton, obviously I'm not alone in thinking that a movie theater is important. So that's something that hopefully this time, a couple months from now, we'll be able to announce that we're bringing a movie theater back to the city, because that's what a lot of the people want.
Yeah, now that Showcase Cinema is closing some, they closed the one in Providence,
Yep.
which Apple has gone in there. They closed the one in Gillette, Patriot Place, and
Yep.
that is Phoenix that has taken over that spot. And they just announced they're closing Randolph,
Yep. I
which
saw
is
that.
which is puts you guys in a good position for that location.
Absolutely.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm
No,
sure
it is.
I'm not good in the movie business, so,
Yep.
but the thing is that with the movie system theaters, you need to have some kind of a attraction. There's got to be a draw to it.
Yep.
There's people have to be. It used to be date night. You go out to a dinner and a movie.
Yep.
The only Showcase cinema that had some kind of a thing on that idea is the one in Chestnut Hill. They have Davio's Steakhouse,
Yep.
and their Showcase. You can actually get a dinner while you sit and watch the movie.
Yep. No, that's great. Those are tough to
Yeah,
develop.
yeah.
That's the thing, that we got to kind of couple this with housing development, probably. Like, they're going to do an apartment complex, and they're going to do, a theater on the side. I mean, I know what you're saying about the destination stuff and about, going to one area. I think with, having the casino within less than a quarter mile away from there,
Oh,
and all
that's going to
these
help.
restaurants, we've got
Yeah.
the new free play bar arcade that, has Providence and Worcester locations. That's at the old Pizzeria Uno's on 140. So it's like a retro arcade that everybody loves. So I think having these different businesses within the area, I think that'll help to bring a theater there.
Yeah, I do an event up in Nashua every year, and they just opened just a couple of years ago, the Nash Casino in Nashua, and that's in a shopping mall.
Yep.
So
That's awesome.
it brought a lot of new life to that shopping mall, which
Absolutely.
is what this you're talking about here. Someone has goes to the casino. There's the entertainment for the adults, and then there's the showcase or the theater that would be for the children or even some adults that just
Yeah,
rather go to a movie than go into a casino, you know?
absolutely. We want
But
people to come and to stay. So
yeah,
that's part of it.
well, it's all part of being making it a destination,
Yep.
you know? So you want to bring people from outside of Taunton as well, you know?
Oh, absolutely. That's the key. Yep.
Yeah, and you know, I'm kind of glad to see that the Taunton Mall is no longer there. Uh, this the South Shore Mall just had a big incident this past week. I don't know if you
No, I
read
hadn't
about
heard
it.
that.
That there was a social media call to shut down take over the mall.
Oh, wow.
All these young kids were going to go in there and take over the mall. So they had like they had like the military hanging out there, and you know, just to prevent anything from happening like that. You
Yeah.
know, I don't get it, but you know, that's what it's a warm place in the winter, so you can't hang out in the middle of a park that you know, in the cold weather or the snow. So you pick a nice big mall, you know, that's the
Yeah.
place.
I mean, as far as the Taunton demolition, there's a finality to it that I can appreciate. And I think that's what you're talking about, where it's like, okay, we need to move on now. You see these other malls, the Swansea Mall is another example of like, what are we going to do with this mall? Like, here it is. Like, how are we going to redevelop it? And at least now we know we're going to have to build new buildings. And that's what we're doing. So there's no lingering thoughts. It's like, we know what we need to do and we're going to do it, you know?
Yeah, you don't want it to be, this is a place for kids to hang out and
Right.
cause all
It's
kinds of
dangerous. That's
yeah,
dangerous.
you know, it's sad to see, but that's what happens, you know.
Yeah,
You know, it
absolutely.
happens in parks as well, but you know, it's a matter of the city of the town making sure that they keep up with that, you know, problem. Make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, something else to think about too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. Well, you know, I live in Quincy, and I Wollaston Beach used to be a great place when I was a kid, and then you had all kinds of people coming in there. All you did is smell pot. And people would
yeah,
be drinking on the beach and throwing the containers all over. It was terrible.
yeah. That's tough.
And they cleaned that all up. It's beautiful down there now, you
That's
know.
great.
And they have concerts in the summer on the beach. It's great, you know. But you know,
That's
it's
incredible
it, you can't let them take over, you know.
for sure.
So, which I'm hoping that Taunton will make sure that they keep their hard work that they're doing to make it look like a nice place to go, a nice place to live. They keep that up.
Absolutely, that's our focus, and that's the administration's focus. We keep going. We're going after blighted buildings. Taunton is always open for business, so we'll definitely not going to take our foot off the gas for sure.
That's great. So, Jay, the big thing is, how do people get a hold of you?
So I would say, I mean, either email or cell phone. I mean, I'll give you my cell phone. It's 774-406-9707. You can text that at any time. Hey, I'm looking for a site, 1,100 square feet. I get those all the time. And we match up businesses with available square footage. We work with a lot of realtors. We've got a whiteboard that's got hundreds of different listings and names and businesses looking for sites. You know, we're trying to match. Some people want to buy, and that's a little bit harder. We've got a lot of lease capabilities. But email is just my first initial J and then my last name at taunton-ma.gov. I always get back no matter what time of day or night it is, but we're looking for developers, any kind of manufacturing. We love manufacturers in Taunton. So any kind of manufacturing businesses that are looking to lease or buy property, please always reach out. We've got a lot of, I mean, we've got the Galleria site. We got another 450,000 square feet that's going to be going in there. We need to fill that building. So, and that's a great site for manufacturing and research and development and all that. So definitely always open for business in Taunton.
Now, one of the plus is that you're right off of 24.
Yep.
So the highway is not very far.
Yeah, no matter where you look, whether it's the beginning of like, you know, where the former Galleria spot is. It's right off the 24 interchange. That'll be all done and probably within the next 2 years. So it's going to be even easier to get to 140. And also the industrial park, it's right off 495 and 24.
Yep.
So it's another on and off spot. So it's
Right.
really a great spots for businesses because you don't have to drive far. You don't have to drive into the heart of a city.
Yeah, and if someone's going to have any kind of manufacturing, they need to be able to transport that material so the truckers can get in and out without going through the whole city to get to the highways.
Yep. And cities work hard for these companies. We just had Fuchs came in, they're Nye Lubricant subsidiary, and it's something that Taunton will do whatever it takes to get these businesses into its fold. So just always reach out and let's talk and we'll figure out something.
Fantastic. Jay, all this information is going to be in the information on YouTube as well as on all the podcast stations. So if anyone wants to get your information, they can go into the information of the show and that can pick it up. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you giving it out, but we'll have it in case they forget it.
Well, we
And
appreciate your time, Rick. Thanks for having us and thanks for thinking of Taunton. We appreciate it.
well, I want to come down when everything is completed, and I want to come and see. I especially want to go. What's the name of that? The one place on the waterfront?
The shipping containers?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no name yet.
Oh, no name.
No name yet. He'll have one because he's done
Uh,
a bunch of development in Fall River, but we
all
don't have a
right.
name yet for that. It's the former Bacon Felt factory site,
Okay.
but he doesn't have a name for that yet. But we're looking forward to that because that'll be a definite destination.
Yeah. When that's completed, I want to come down and look at that.
Awesome.
Jay,
Well, thank you.
it's a pleasure as always. We're talking with Jay Pateakos. He is at the Taunton Office of Economic and Community Development. And again, all of his information will be at the end of the show. And I'm Rick Kaplan from the NEREJ, NYREJ podcast. Until next time.